Good night. I don't feel really well. My back hurts like crazy. Maybe because of the way that I sleep, or the bed, or the chair, or whatever. How I walk. And then probably the most important reason is that I don't do any sports at all. It's really bad. I'm locked, as you know, and it's really, really. It's taking a toll of me. I like to walk, and I like. From time to time, I'm used to, as you probably know, to do a very long walk. At least even 10 hours, or many times 24 hours, walking almost, continuously, and sometimes even 36 hours. Just as one of my hobbies, but and really, be not being able to walk at all is really, really, nasty on me. Tomorrow I'm having a hearing in the courtroom. It's an hearing that was postponed many times until now, but it's in the main case as opposed to the custody case. To the arrest, the arrest case, which is technically another related case. Anyway, it's not going to be something nothing. Probably, it's it's actually initial hearing, so I'm going to say that I'm not guilty, and that's it. And the judge will set another hearing probably. I don't feel well, and I'm really, tired from all the noises that the Israelis are making. Not that it's new. It's like that for many years, but it's just, can they just shut up? Can't they just shut up? As I told you today in the previous video, they use a million forms of messages and mediums like theaters and music and noise and written emails, and they have a million messages in 1,000 forms of mediums and of media, but it's only one message. The semantics contains only one object, which is as I said before, it's we are strong and you are weak, and so you should do whatever we want you to do. That's the only message that they and it's a single message, a single object in the semantic field, and it's taking so many indefinite amount of forms, it's a miracle in its own really. It's kind of it's a miracle of the consciousness being, or miracle of the mind, I would say. How can how can you create a language that contains so many symbols, but a semantic field which contains only one object? Anyway, I spoke about it a lot enough today. I will update you on where I stand now as regards to experimentation, because I've done a little bit of it today, and also I will now continue the third part of the war with the newts, where I discuss the language, and because the two previous parts were just totally introductory. So let's speak about symbols a little bit, about the actual language. And as I mentioned in great lengths, I'm not going to repeat myself. I just, as a summary, I will say that even though I'm in this business for a couple of years now, and especially since I started my own painting and sculpturing a year and a half ago, it's not the only thing that I do is just to decipher the language. It's kind of it's a meta discussion that was held and also recorded. It's not the only thing that I do. I've done many other stuff as well, but it's part of what I want to do for a year and a half. I'm still in very initial phases, and of course my very limited conditions are also prohibiting me from advancing in that front as well. But whatever was done is important. And so I couldn't advance much in the creation of the black goo, and it is probably because I don't use beeswax, and probably it's definitely it was definitely an important a very big part of mixture that that I used when I created the black goo, and also I know that beeswax is helpful for many other like that it's like a material that they like the Neros. And this was already established in many recorded experiments. First of all, it was one of the things that I put like in the initial like in the plastic container where I've seen worms like living worms in the first time, if you remember. It was made of sugar, polydyne, and like the bottom was sugar and polydyne, and above it there was like a layer of beeswax. So yes, so right from there, I saw that actually it's like a beneficial material. And of course later, we've seen like the candles, that burning candles, that are made from from enriched beeswax. That's the first time that I've understood the concept of enrichment. Like that one of the things they do with the Neros is that they can like take material and make it like better or more potent. So it was very like neatly, like it was just like a miracle. It was also on YouTube. It's like a miracle that is recorded in YouTube. The burning bush, just like that. It was amazing. Of course, it was replicated many times after that. Not only with beeswax, but also with like other types of oils. But it's can be seen very clearly with beeswax. So probably just I need beeswax, and I don't have nothing. I just have like my minute scraps, like really. But probably it's something that it is really needed. At least for the black goo. But as I said, now but it's not the only thing that I wasn't doing exactly the same as doing like a successful batch of black goo. To be honest, because I try to be like exact as possible, but then I remember that actually many stuff I didn't do, because it's the whole process is more complicated than it's pretty it's complicated, and the problem is that I don't have the microscopes, and many things that I do is just I do it like as a conjecture, and then I forgot to actually do it again, because the conjecture was not proved or disproved, because I don't have microscope, and so so I left a few steps that perhaps were necessary, and like. So it's a problem. Like for example, there was a phase that first of all, I used to like as a basis for the Neo juice. I used to take like like quite a bit of my semen, and also a little bit of pee, and that was like the mix. And it was also the mix, for the base mix, with other stuff, but the base mix of the batch that created, the black goo. But in the last week or so, I shifted to pee, to mostly pee, and almost like no, very, very little bit of semen, because, honestly, I'm kind of like, I'm a little bit tired of jerking off. Yeah, it's we all do it, especially those that don't have kids, that can't that live in countries that by law they are prohibited of like having any sexual relationship, like me. But unless it's mandated by the government, and you cannot say no, and if you do, they are torturing you. But out of like own volition, it's illegal for me to, as I explained in great length, it's illegal for me in Israel, for my species to have any kind of like sexual relationship, and of course not romantic relationships that are even more illegal. So it's okay to jerk off from time to time, but I've kind of like I've reached a point that I felt like it's like part of my job, like to do it several times a day, and it's really it doesn't feel right, and also as I got used to the fact that people are watching me all the time, but it's not something that you really like, you never like, you go to like it's so I said, okay, why not use pee? And I've also discovered the process, like that greatly reduces like the smell of I guess it's ammonia, and so it becomes like nicer to work with it than before. Before it was really disgusting because it smelled disgusting, but now so I switched to pee. But maybe I know that pee contains neurons, and there's like evidence even like after like, from here, like without microscope. But maybe it's not the same kind of neurons at all. So maybe the mixture is actually maybe the semen is actually very important. I don't know. So I've used more semen now. In the mixture that I'm working on today, even though it doesn't really contains the beeswax. So we are now. We are in a dead end, as we say. And also another thing that I didn't like that I used. When I created the patch is and I didn't do now is like part of what I've done. If you remember, I don't know if you remember, I wanted to test the theory, but actually I couldn't have tested it because I don't have a microscope, so I kind of forgot about it. Or put it aside. But maybe it proved to be very important. I don't know. So I don't even remember the whole. Like how exactly I came to this conclusion. It was. I remember parts of it, but some of my thought process is actually. I don't even remember why I did things, but maybe it's recorded. Anyway, I've used to to put the Nero juice, the pure one, which contains more semen and a little bit of pee, in a small can, and put it for a while in my discotheque. You remember the discotheque? And it was the assumption was that it will help them multiply before I want to use them in other ways, so they will so. Call it. By the way, I use the word discotheque. I know it's a word from the 70s because discotheque. God's discotheque. It's a solar system where it spins spins the discs. And I mentioned the song I saw you playing in discotheque. At the discotheque. Anyway, so people. I imagine people are just sitting in planetariums. Or watching photos from huge telescopes, and and maybe they're laughing like me, but maybe they're also crying when they understand what kind of asteroids are going to hit the Earth. So this is my discotheque. I used the light from the phone, but now I use the phone for the camera, so it's without the light, and the light is one of the major components of the discotheque, so it's less impressive. Anyway, this is the discotheque, the metal. It's a metal container, very very common in IKEA because it's in Israel because it's sold in IKEA, and IKEA is very popular here. I should remind you, what do we do with the discotheque? The discotheque actually is a batch of magnets, electromagnets with a can on it, with a mixture. So they are, they're not only, exposed to a constant magnetic field, but they're also getting the bump, which actually I don't understand why. And I still ask people, and people didn't answer me. Why is there the bump, the rhythmic bump, pack, 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 that the can is getting from below. And why is it the rhythm is like that, tack, tack, tack. It's in several, at least one or even two, shorts that I uploaded to YouTube. You could see the tack, tack, and it's getting vibration like that. And so it's really, my hypothesis is that it helps them dance and perhaps multiply. But it wasn't the only, as we remember, a very important stuff was actually to from below you can actually see. It's not the only way to produce this message, but the idea is to show them yellow circles that are glowing, as is very common in so when I put the light from here, you can see maybe you can see that they have the discotheque is filled with yellow circles glowing. I thought about it actually after, as you remember, after the hypothesis that the yellow pools they signify pregnancy. and cloning. If you remember, so after that I thought, okay, so let's tell him to to do it. But I mean, to tell him to do it was not enough, because I mean, so I hypothesized that, if you remember, that they did it in the freezer actually. I mean, that's a fact. We can see it in the photographs that were taken just after freezer treatment. So my hypothesis was that, I mean, it's something to do with temperature, but also magnetic field, and also, I mean, the rhythm of the. So I also like play them like in discotheques. Also, it's not work because I use the phone. The phone is used both for light and for the music in the discotheque, which the music is like a refrigerator sound from YouTube. It's not the not the transformer sound, not like a which is like a transformer sound, but like an AC/DC transformer sound, which is very like monotonous. But I mean, that's what they like, presumably. So I mean, I didn't do this stage now, and I mean, so now today I try to fix myself, and to do it, and actually, and then to move the neurons to where the electrolysis happens. But I mean, I don't really expect it to work because of the beeswax issue, and I will also say that, I mean, I kind of a little bit lost interest in it, in the black goo, maybe because I couldn't like immediately remake it. But I mean, actually, I mean, I hope you don't find me like I mean, I give up on the black goo too quickly. But I mean, the main importance of the black goo is the fact that you, my audience, I mean, I understood very quickly that it's something that you like you want it, and that it's part of your. I didn't understand it like just, I mean, out of nowhere, because I mean, we already spoke about much of the stuff, like the Israeli clay, even YouTube channel, but on like Twitter and Facebook. Like, I mean, there's a lot of like background here that is related to it. So it's not like entirely new to me, but I've never seen it before, and I understand that you get it from Venus. I mean, or you don't, because there is a moratorium, and of course the Israelis do not respect it because they are Israelis. So, and I mean, and many people around the world are using the Israelis for a long time now as like, I mean, as the filthy pirates that, I mean, they are doing the filthy parts that we don't like to do at all, but we pay them to do it for us, which is very more, I mean, exemplary in a case for exemplary like European values. It's like, I mean, something that is so like, I mean, characteristic of Europeans to actually like, I mean, to hold like very high like moral standards, and not to like, I mean, to keep their ends clean. I mean, we don't do dirty stuff, but I mean, behind the scenes to pay for like other dirty people to do those very things for them. So yeah, Europeans, you really outdone yourself. That's amazing. You understand why the world, I mean, is punished? Not only the Israelis, because they are your disgusting dog. But I mean, the owners will also be, I mean, even arguably be punished even more than the rabid dog that, I mean, that ate a person alive. The owner also, I mean, the owner, and the Israelis have an owner because they are parasitic state, and this is what discussed many times. Like it was always like that. I mean, even before, just in one sentence, because I've really spoken about it a lot, but I mean, even before the important, Americans really intervened really heavily in Middle Eastern politics, and especially they become the ultimate patron of the state of Israel only during the 1970s, the discotheque time. Before that, there were other, mostly England, Germany, France, and that acted like as patrons here, and even initially even the Soviet Union, but it would quickly they changed like their affiliation towards the Arabs. So where were we? Discotheque. And so I saw, but I mean, I do really, I mean, so what I mean, do I really need to eat it or something? I mean, it's stupid. I mean, why should I eat it? Like, I mean, it's ridiculous. And I also understood that, I mean, that my stuff, it's impossible that the black goo is more like potent or more valuable than my neuron mixture. I mean, because I mean, how? I mean, if A created B, how can B be more valuable than A? Like, yeah, I mean, it's also a religious metaphor, and you are allowed, and even it's recommended to, I mean, to think about like God. I mean, but I mean, the creator, the creator cannot be like, I mean, less valuable than the thing that he created, correct? And it's impossible, and the black goo cannot create the neo juice, because if it was possible, then it means that it could also replicate itself. And if it's true, then it means that, I mean, as I said like, several times already, I mean, that both of the Venusian and the Earth cultures are completely idiotic, like in historic scale, because they, I mean, they covet, I mean, material so much, like in interplanetary rare, like material that supposedly, I mean, both these cultures are aware of for so long, and I mean, they are complete about it and do, I mean, heinous crimes in order to obtain it. And all the while, it's like it's a material that can replicate itself. It's, I mean, if it's true, then I mean, it's comically like tragic, but it's probably not true. But probably true is that it cannot be used to replicate itself. But my stuff can replicate both itself and can create the black goo. So how can the black goo be more valuable? It's only possible that it's more valuable to you. So you can say, okay, so you can sell it, but I cannot sell anything. I'm a slave. Slaves cannot sell stuff. Slaves can only do whatever like the Israelis, like Nazis can do, can want to tell them to do, and that's a fact. I need to be rescued from the Nazi prison. I cannot sell anything while I'm in the Nazi prison. What I can only do is to partake, to continuously, I mean, take part in more theater shows, and I've had enough. Like it's all my life, and especially the last couple of years, that I'm like forced to be an actor in theater shows. And if I refuse, I'm punished by torture and all sort of like punishments that I mean of severe punishments, because I refuse to do my part in the act. But no, I do not want to be part of a theater. Sorry. And selling while you're a slave is a theater that is disgusting one. So I mean, having said so, I mean, for a second, I mean, for a minute, I thought that maybe, I mean, the black goo is an intermediate material. Like you create stuff with the black goo that you cannot create with the neo juice, but it's a little bit. I mean, perhaps it's true. This could. I mean, I would have liked to test it. Like, I mean, to have research on the matter, and probably I will. But it's kind of like, I mean, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, why would we need this intermediary, like, thing, like the black goo? And why would I need it? Like, I mean, doesn't it make more sense that the neos will jump? Like, I mean, if A, like, creates B and B can create C, why shouldn't A, I mean, create C directly, assuming that A is an intelligent agent? Like, it's not like, I mean, it's not like it's just a force of nature. It's like, or like something like, I mean, that is mindless. I mean, has mind, and it creates B, and B can create C. So why shouldn't A create C? So I'm kind of like, I feel that I mean, I myself, I don't feel that I really have any use for the black goo, even though you like it so much and you put a high price on it. But the price will not go to me, of course. As usual, any like money that, I mean, you will transfer for the black goo will go to the Israeli Nazis, like we're always used to. It's not a new concept. The idea that I, the one that, I mean, gives you everything, gets nothing in return besides advices. I always get advices in return, and I'm certain that, I mean, if I'm going to start like I'm not going to, like, but if I would, like, theoretically start a black goo like marketplace or a shop, I mean, it will be the same like usual arrangement where people abroad get most of the black goo. I get advices from Israelis, and Israelis get money from abroad. And I don't like the arrangement. As I said many times, and since I don't like the arrangement, I acted, I mean, to receive a new passport, like a valid passport, after the other one, I mean, the current one, I mean, was stolen. And like 3 days after I received it, I was framed, like, and then arrested since. So, I mean, everything stayed the same. It's the same arrangement is still on the table. You will get advices. Israelis, Nazis will get the money, and the people abroad will give money and get black goo. But no, it's not something that I mean, I would. It's not kind of like a deal that I would like to partake in. So do I need a black goo? Probably not. So So I kind of like, maybe because I mean I don't have the beeswax, but maybe because let's say I had it. And also, I understand that. If I had, that's, probably people would have steal it from me, and I guess they already did, because that's the major the predicament of my life, that I create stuff and people steal it from me, and like I'm not sure whether I really want people to steal things from me. Like, it's not. As I said, I'm used to it, but it needs to stop. You need to stop steal stuff. Like, it's gotta be, it's gotta stop being part of like what you do. Like, especially the Israeli boulders as well. Like, there's something like is that you do like as a regular basics. You need to understand that you cannot steal from me. And I don't know how to imbue this like thought in your head, but not creating stuff that you covet and will certainly steal is the first step. Some people tell me, you don't understand, we need this. So first of all, why do I not understand? Why don't you tell me exactly, and why didn't you tell me until now? You tell me that I don't understand something, and you don't even listen to your own words. If I don't understand, it's because it's kept secret for me, and it was kept secret for me. It was done for immoral reason, and the main reason was not that I will not produce it. Actually, it's the opposite. If I knew, all my life, what benefit do you have from it, I would produce it in much greater scale, like probably even 1,000 times more. So the issue was not like, the production. The issue was that you didn't want to give anything in return. That is something that I truly understand. I really understand. You wanted to give me advices in return, and I do not get. This marketplace is closed. The marketplace that you give the most valuable things on earth, and in return you get advices, and not ordinary advices, but advices that come from the mouths of the lowliest scum of the earth, the worst people that ever existed. They are the ones that give you the advices in return for your most valuable material that ever existed. That you get advices, and I'm done with this. I'm done with this with the arrangement. This arrangement is no longer. You hear the pigs squeaking. You hear the pigs squeaking, and they will continue squeaking until an arm and leg is moved from abroad. 40 years without an arm and a leg. 40 years. That's why the pigs squeak. And that's why millions are dying all around the world. All around the world they die. Because the pigs squeak under my window. And they do it because you do not move an arm and a leg for 40 years. 40 years of terror. Personal terror. Not let's leave the whole genocide aside. But we shouldn't. But just for the argument. 40 years of my own personal terrors, it's only getting worse, and not an arm and a leg has never been moved. And that is why the pigs squeak. It's not that they don't, respect me. They don't respect anyone. I've said it again. The difference between me and, let's say, Obama or Bush, or Clinton, a former president of the U.S., that if a former president of the U.S. would have stayed here, not one pig would have squeaked. Not one pig. And a pig squeaks every 5 minutes when I'm here. And it's not because of the power differences, because former presidents have no power at all. And I have the power, and I exercise the power to destroy humanity. So the issue is not power. The issue is whether the pigs in Israel have seen arms and legs moving in a direction that will benefit the person, and they've seen in their own eyes, and they're seeing arms and legs moving to assist and to help and to guard Clinton and Bush and Obama. That's why they would never squeak under their window. But they have never seen in 40 years one arm or a leg moving in my direction to help me. They have only seen mouths and tongues, and they do not value mouths and tongues because that's the only thing that they do in their life is to move their mouths and tongues. So they do not put value on it. They value only the movement of arms and legs, and they have never seen a movement of arms and legs in my direction. That's why you hear the pigs squeak even now as I record the video. You hear them squeak. And every squeak of a pig is a million Homo sapienses that are paying with their life. Yes, that's the way it is. That's the way it is, and it is perfectly justified in my opinion. But you don't have to to believe it's justified. You just need to understand how it works. Like, what's the deal? The deal is that pigs squeak under my window and millions are dying all over the world, all around the world. Because if they would have moved an arm of a leg in the last 40 years, this wouldn't have happened. The Israelis do not respect anything. They do not respect. They don't care if you're God, if you're a former president, if you are a robot, if you're a toaster. They don't care at all. The whole question regarding your nature or your imminent characteristics is entirely redundant. I mean, from the point of view of the Israelis only know that some things, I mean, they are worthy enough for arms and legs to move, and other things, I mean, they are worthy enough for mouths and tongues to move. And they know that I belong to the second category, and that's how it was for all my life, for 40 years and up till now. They know this thing, whatever it is I mean, people around the world put the value in it as that it belongs to the second category, the category that is it's an object that or thing that motivates mouths and tongues to move. It certainly do not, whatever it is, it does not belong to the first category of things that are, that motivate people to move their arms and legs because they've never seen in their life a leg or an arm moving in my direction to help me. So they know, okay, this one belongs to the category where we squeak under his window for all his life until he will be crazy and do whatever we want. And that is effect. That is effect. That's why the pigs squeak, and they will continue to squeak. They will continue until they will see an arm and legs moving. They will continue to squeak, I assure you. Where were we before the another batch of pigs came here? So I've said, I mean, I'm really, I understood the deal very well of me giving the most valuable things on earth, and I'm getting advices in return. I understood it, but I do not want to. This deal is not acceptable anymore, and I've spoken about it I 5 or 6 months ago that it's got to stop. Sorry, no, it's a very bad deal, very very bad deal that Israel get the money. The Europeans, the Americans are sending the money. They get the most valuable thing in the world. I give the most valuable thing in the world, and I get advices. It's a very bad deal, very very bad deal, and I do not want to continue. So from this, and of course, in Israel, no other type of deal will ever be possible because it's part of their existence, slave ownership. So. Why do I even need the Blegu? What for? It's only more incentive for you to terrorize me and to steal from me and everything else. I understand that. Yes, it can help you, people with the medical issues, but you need to understand something about myself. I as well am having medical issues when I've had all my life, and certainly only now I've spoken about that my back hurts and things like that. But all my problems, all my health problems, and I've had quite a few during my life, and it was part of the things that I had to it's part of my hardship, this is the things that I had to deal with during my life, the bad things. But all of it, and several of it were actually serious, but all of it was created directly as a result of things that the Israeli Nazis have done to me, and they only do more and more. My medicine is not some kind of magical blegu, and it's also nothing that you can actually buy in the pharmacy. You could maybe perhaps buy stuff that will help you deal with the pain, and I've bought a lot of stuff like that during my life. But my medicine is to get out of the Nazi prison. That's my medicine. I need to be out of Israel, and this will solve, and assuming that I will find a state that is not a Nazi one, it will solve all my medical problems. I don't need your coffee or your tea or your whatever you think that you think, or magical or non-magical stuff. I just don't need it because I'm like obelisk. Like, I mean, from the Asterix comics, that he was like, I mean, he was thrown like as a baby to the magic pot, so he doesn't need to drink the magic potion. So I'm like that. I don't need the magic potion. What I need is to be out of the Nazi prison. And all my medical problems, and some of them sometimes are severe, will just disappear. It's ridiculous to give me like medicine, like regular medicine, and it's even more ridiculous to give me magic medicine while I am tortured in the Nazi prison by inhuman human beings. So, I mean, so that's why, like, I feel less, like, I don't have, like, really the emotional incentive to create a black hole. But I do have, like, but I've learned stuff from the experiments, and so it's not that I haven't learned stuff. I did learn, and I should continue with that. I mean, I'm feeling really tired, but I mean, I've promised to speak to you a little bit about symbols, so I'll just give you a taste. So first of all, as I've said, I mean, the first question is, I mean, what do you even want? And sometimes, I mean, you can't understand the symbol or create a symbol without, I mean, like having enough like semantics. You need to increase your semantic field. An example, I mean, I've just given you a very important example, like right now, that, I mean, after some time and thinking about the Neros and I mean, rewatching the old photos and I mean, so I recently, I mean, came to I mean, it's not, I haven't been approved it yet, and I can't like do research without the microscope, but I shared it with you, the thought, and I say the thing that is probably true, that. And I mean, also, I mean, using mathematical like explanation, I told you why I think that they clone in every like possible like size that they can clone. And so, I mean, you need to actually like I mean, know, or at least like have the conjecture that they can clone in whatever size that they are, in order for like start to think about the cloning process and how to symbolize it. But so because if you don't even know that they clone, I mean, how could you tell them to do it? Like, I mean, if you think that they just grow, like I don't know, biological creatures that start very small and go larger and larger, or stop at whatever point, you're not going to tell them to clone. But if we know that they can clone, then now it's become beneficial for them to clone, because we want many of them, because we want them to create more work. So now you think, okay, so, but I mean, so let's think about the symbol, and so, but first of all, I mean, it's very beneficial to actually, I mean, when you want to symbolize like cloning, you can, I mean, there are several ways to do it. I mean, like you can put like two like identical things, one like besides the other, but the problem is, I mean, the duality, the putting things is very, very, very common in this language for many reasons. That maybe I'll speak about it today, maybe another day, but I already spoke about it. It's very, I mean, it's very important. I would say not a symbol, but a paradigm of the symbolic of this language is the duality, that the two things that are almost similar but not similar, or sometimes they are identical. I mean, they are almost identical, but some. I mean, a lot. I mean, it's kind of like a motive in this language. So the pairing. So it's already. I mean, it's its own thing, like the pairing. So I mean, so how can you? I mean, so now you have a problem with cloning. Like, I mean, you want them to clone, but I mean, but you don't know how to do it. Like, so I mean, it's gotta be something. I mean, the symbol. I mean, probably. I mean, could be like. I mean, should representing like mimic mimetic things of the Neros themselves. But there is also a problem here, because we don't really understand like both how they look and also how they think that they look. Because I've seen them like only under the microscope, but I mean, they look like circles, and I mean with some kind of width, and it's not. I mean, there it's the big ones show other like circuitries. Like they have like small like many times they have like a ring within the ring, so it's kind of like it's we have a little bit more like visual information about it, like just that they're circles. But the basic, I mean, basically they're circles, and I mean it doesn't give you much to work with because circles are also very important in this language for. Actually, I mean, it's a visual language. The circle is very important anyway, and I will speak about it also maybe later today. But circles in their own, I mean, the concept of circle is very. Um, okay, maybe I mean, instead of like postponing everything, I'll just give you just. I mean, I know that you want any kind of information, so I'll say that in this language there is. I mean, there are. I mean, many like messages. I mean, they come in like I mean they are presented in the form of pair, like two things. But sometimes I mean you just want to I mean the message I mean only like contains like one thing, not two, but then it will most probably be something that is placed inside the circle, or it's the circle itself, or like with other circles around it. So like it's either a circle or like a group of circles, one within another, or it's like two things, one besides the other. And there is actually, I mean, it's not just, I mean, there's a logic behind it, and maybe I'll speak about it later. But let's get that back to the subject of. I mean, we want to increase our semantics. So it's, I mean, so it's a conundrum, like how to represent, like, I mean, the cloning. So, I mean, you can just put like create like two neurons, one like above the other, or almost above the other, and this is something that I've done like since like even before I understood that I'm doing, like in very early like paintings of the spaceship, like the circle and the circle, it's almost like entirely above it, but I mean, just I mean, it's partly like circle, and you know another one like which is almost above. This is it's a major like I mean like symbol of my paintings even without understanding what I paint, but this also, I mean, it's got like other meanings. So, but of course, I mean, if we recall the yellow pools, and it gives us a lot of information, because now we have like a glowing, something that is not just yellow but glowing yellow, which is peculiar. I mean, how do they even have the energy to have, I mean, to produce this glowing? If you, I mean, under the microscope, it's very like it's glowing bright yellow. It's very like interesting to actually to think about. Like, I mean, they need it's. I mean, it's certain that I mean, while they are in the process of the yellow pool, I mean, there is like an energy that's been generated in order for just, I mean, even just a bit for the yellow pool itself, you know, to exist. So, I mean, as you remember, we spoke for mathematical reasons. I mean, I started to have the conjecture that I don't know if it's true because I don't have the microscope here now, but I thought, okay, maybe that it just means that they are pregnant and they're going to clone, because sometimes you just see the yellow pools without the neuro, they're slowly dissolving. So it means that, I mean, it was like a process that is ended. Like the water is broke, something like that. So now, okay, yeah, glowing yellow circles is something important in the civilization. So this could, I mean, we could use it in the discotheque, like we have the yellow, see the yellow thing here, like you see, but I mean, imagine that there is like a discotheque light on it, so it's glowing yellow, and you have the beats from below, and so I mean, so presumably it can help them multiply. I have no idea if it really works, and again, I only know that, I mean, it was something that I've done with the black the black goo batch. But I mean, let's speak a little more about symbols. Okay, so first we need to understand, I mean, what is even like, to understand the semantics, like what can happen, like, so you can't like think about like what's the correct, like, I mean, symbol of like cloning or pregnancy if you don't even know that they can do it. I mean, so first you need to actually know what is possible and to understand that you want it to happen, and after that you can start to think about the symbol. Just a second, I'll take a bite, just a moment. Okay, so I mentioned the issue of pairs and the issue, I mean, the paradigm of the pairs, like two things that are almost, I mean, of the same kind, and also the paradigm of circles that within other circles. These are two very important, like, not symbols, but paradigms of symbols. Like, I mean, like, that organizes principles that meta symbols of symbols. But there is another very important paradigm, which is the issue, I mean, which is I mean, backgrounds. And this is something that I've spoken about, I mean, from very early stages. That I understood that they have things, I mean, they are like, I mean, it's I mean, I formulated it like, I mean, like when I thought about, like, I mean, of the spaceships. But it's the same for the Neros. Like, I mean, when they look at stuff, I mean, they look at, like, I mean, it's not just the object, but the background and the background of the background and the background of the background. And all are important. And colors are important, but only the color white is like absolute importance. Like the rest of the colors are like, I mean, they can be they are more like, I mean, like interpreted in relation to other colors. For example, I mean, like dark blue can act like it's black. Black is important as well, but I mean, dark blue can like be a substitute of black. I mean, if I mean, it depends, like, I mean, but I mean, on what, like, you put on it. I mean, because contrast is important. So a contrast should be created. But white is important, but not for the reasons that, I mean, that I mean, usually people, like, I mean, usually in our culture, like, placed on white. Mainly, I mean, it's like, it's not like, I mean, as a background, it represents death many times. It's not like which I mean, in our country, but who's our? I mean, it's not completely true. I wanted to say that for humans, black means death, but it is actually not even always true, because I think that in the Far East, maybe Japan, I don't remember. Actually, white is, I mean, is worn on funerals. If I don't, I mean, I hope I'm not going, like Is it Japan? But I mean, there are certainly places in this world, I think Japan, that, I mean, that people like wear white for funerals. So it's, I mean, even for humans, it's not that always black is the color that is associated with death. But I understood another thing, that, I mean, that black, like, both, I mean, we associate black with space many times, and they also do it as well, but it's not the same kind of, like, I mean, space. For us, space means like nothing. Like it's like nothing is there. But for them, it's not like that. Nothing is represented in their language as a transparent background. And transparent background are also have their own, like, usage. Like, transparency is also, I mean, partial and complete transparency are also, I mean, part of the I mean, how they represent symbols and backgrounds of symbols. Like, and it's a problem, because many times, like, but I mean, it's many times we think of we mix between, like, transparent and white. For example, what is this? This can, the answer is that it's a transparent background. It's not a white background. It's a transparent background, which is different. Like if we want to use the default like color, I mean, for all sort of like symbols, the default will be the transparent background, not the white one. And black means space, but it's not like the default. Like from their perspective, I mean, space is a thing that was like that. I mean, was like created. Like, I mean, someone has like to put like a bunch of space in a place where like space will be there. They don't like watch it like, I mean, space like in the night sky like now and think, okay, there is nothing there. No, there is space there. I mean, if there wasn't space, I mean, then there it wasn't. Then I mean, there would be something else there. I mean, not space. Like someone, presumably, I mean, their creator, God, had like to put like, I mean, bunch of space and take the space and put it like there's cubes of space one on the other, and that's how like space was created. That's why the space is there. And if there wasn't space there, then it wasn't black. Like it was something else, but I don't know, empty. I mean, some kind of representation of emptiness, but not black. The blackness of space is an indication that we actually see space, and there is a symbol there. They have, I mean, red is important in their culture, and also it many times it signifies all sorts of things. But this is actually common in human cultures as well. Red is also very important, so it's probably not a surprise. There's a lot to say about like the duality and the circles, as I said, the paradigms, but I'm not going to do it now. Maybe tomorrow or later. But let's speak, I mean, a little bit about I'll share with you, I mean, my thought with regards to the black goo. So I mean, the examples are very like, I mean, enlightening in this when we speak about symbols. So, as I've said in the past, I mean, during my initial experiments, like, I mean, I came to a kind of like a tentative conclusion that they need light, which is very true, because, I mean, as I've said, they interpret the symbols, I mean, when they have light. And even if they can actually like sense the things without light, because they don't have eyes, so it's not like optical watching, it's something else. But I mean, for communication purposes, it's as if they have eyes and they use optical like viewing. That's how it is. Like, I mean, for the purpose of like facilitating communication, you need to imagine like them like swim inside the container, for example. I mean, if we speak about like the spaceship, it's an entirely different question. But then you have like the question of like, I mean, where and when like the symbol is even like it's like activated, and it's a huge subject. I spoke about it in the past. It's a huge subject. Like, I mean, okay, so I mean, because I mean, from this aspect, like, the issue with the neurons is actually it's kind of like it's easy, because I mean, you know where they are. The nanobots, you know where they are, so and you can say, okay, when they are there and when they can watch the symbol, then the symbol is like active. But I mean, with the state from. I mean, most of the, I mean, it's a new thing to speak about the nanobots. I mean, most of the time I spoke about like the spaceships. So then you need to think, I mean, okay, you know that they are smart enough that they don't really need to watch it like satellites. I mean, you don't really need to put it like on your roof, like, I mean, like horizontally, or so they will be able to like point their cameras, because you understand that these are much more complicated machines that, I mean, than you could ever think of, and they don't really need like to actually like watch it using like a visual light center or like infrared or radar. You know, there are many radar satellites as well, like SAR satellites and like all the hyperspectral satellites and whatever, and more. But it's not like that. I mean, these are all, I mean, nice tech. I mean, I was like part of this world for some time, but I mean, they certainly have like better stuff, and I don't really need to know what. But there is still the question of, I mean, the question is not how they can actually like sense that the symbol is there, but the question is when, is the symbol active? Because for example, if I paint like a painting, like it takes me some time to paint. If it's an old paint, it can take like even weeks. Some old paintings, they take years to be made. But it takes time anyway. So while you are at the middle of painting it, you don't want the symbol to be active, right? You don't want to like if you want, like, to create a symbol that, that you are blessing a person with like great wealth and, and happiness. But maybe you can start, when you start to paint it, or you draw like, the initial framework, for example, you can, mistakenly, for a moment, paint or draw, the symbol that signifies that this person should be killed. So you don't want him to be killed, right? It's just an example, but there is issues of when is it's active, like and for how long, and so there is issue of duration, if you remember. So all this, I spoke about it, at great length. But this is unfortunately all of these issues are less relevant in the language of the nanobots, because we have the container. It's also relevant in this for the nanobots, because the containers. But let's not speak. I don't want to get into it too much. It's also, these kind of like questions are also relevant for the communication with the nanobots, but it's much less pronounced when it was with regard to the spaceships. And let's for example, for now, let's assume an assumption which is pretty close to the truth. Let's be like a little bit. Let's do it. Let's speak about it in a simplified way. That when you have the container and you have you have the symbol, then it's active. Like it's the communication. They try to communicate to communicate with you. So my an early conjecture to remember is that first that they need light, because the symbol is active. Like they act upon it. If they can actually see it, like optically watch it, even if they don't need to optically like watch it in order to know what's in it. That's like that's what they use. And actually it's convenient, because that's also what I use. That's my main sensors. My eyes, and it's very. By the way, it's not true for all animals, and especially not for all mammals. Like among the mammals, humans, and I'm like my physical abilities are that of human, like just like any of you, my viewers. So humans are in relation to other mammals, they rely on their amazingly rely very, very heavily on their eyes. This is actually not the case for many mammals. Actually, for many mammals, it's kind of like 33% like eyes, 33% ears, 33% nose. And for humans, it's like 90% eyes, 9% ears, and it's maximum 1% nose. And many people rely 0% on their nose. And so this is not it's not typical for mammals. We humans, we have such like a poor hearing and abysmal sense of smell, and relatively very good vision. Anyway, neurons, it's either their nature, in their nature, to be like humans in that respect, or they act as if they are humans. But it's easy because I'm also a human, like in human form, so I rely on my eyes, like visually, to optically, for optical sense. The optical sensors are by far the most important. So I understood that they rely on light that mostly, as I remember, I said that I think that they preferred like light, source of light should be from below. Now, it doesn't mean that it cannot come from above or from the sides. And of course, light, I mean, is reflected. So, I mean, if there is enough light, it can come from everywhere and just, I mean, be reflected. And it depends on like how much light you have and the nature of the container. There are also for containers. But I've spoken about the fact that it comes from below. And later I understood why it's important it comes from below. Because they look up. First of all, I should remind you that this is counterintuitive for humans because humans expect light to come from above them. Like, it's not that it can come from the sides, but I mean, and I mean, there is maximum like light during the noon when the sun is just above you, and also like practically all like artificial lights today human put above their heads, even though in the past it wasn't really like that. But in the past people like put torches on the wall, like, but in the past artificial lights were very uncommon. I mean, we see many like torches in many like or candles, like beeswax candles in many like in movies and TV shows regarding like historic times. So it gives us like a false impression that, I mean, they were very common, but actually for humans up until electricity, actually even before electricity, but I mean up until the 19th century, like, and since forever, people mainly use the sun, like, I mean, and also the moon and the stars when they had to, but they almost exclusively use the sun as their like source of lights. And because candles were always known, but beeswax was expensive. It wasn't cheap things as it is today. And so, I mean, we expect light to come from above, and today in our age of like electricity, so we still expect it to come from above. But they expect it to come from below, and I think that the reason is because they look above them to get like for communication. Now, what's below? What's there is also the issue of definitions. I mean, so of course I define below as, I mean, as where gravity comes from, like, so, and so, I mean, if you are used to a planet, then, I mean, you would expect like light to come from mostly from above, because it comes from the star, which is, it's not only above you, because, I mean, it's circles. I mean, it's not really circles. You are the thing that of course that moving in circles. But I mean from your perspective it moves, but I mean it's mostly like, I mean almost above you, and especially when there is the maximum amount of light. So you expect light to come from above, from the stars, but and you define below as the source of gravity, which is the planet, or more exactly the center of the planet. So, I mean, you expect like to the gravity field to come from below you. I mean, this is what defines actually below. I mean, you define it by the center of the gravity field, and light to come from the other way around. But if, for example, you are a creature that was not born on a planet, and I've always, I mean, I hinted to it, or even like Planning spoke about it like a couple of days ago, that I mean, from an early stage, I was skeptic like about like whether, I mean, I didn't think like that the neurons like in my body, I mean, originated in Venus, as many of you still think and thought for a long time. I thought that, I mean, that there is something fundamentally wrong about all the Venusian origin theory, and that actually I came from a place that is far, far away, both in time and like in place, and that I truly think that let's not speak about, I mean, who is I. I mean, it's like a manifestation or reincarnation. But let's speak about the Neos. The Neos, I do not think that they were created originally in the planet at all. And I think that I actually explicitly said it like a while ago. But we don't need to assume that they were created. I mean, no, we shouldn't assume that for certain that everything that we encounter was created on the planet. It's like very homocentric. I mean, it's like places like the center on humans. Like, I mean, you think it, I mean, since you were created on the planet, so everything must be created on planets. But it's not necessarily true, and I do not think it is true at all. I think that, I mean, things can be created not only on planets. and not only on not on and not on moons as well. Like I mean, moons from this perspective is like a type of planet, okay, but not moons and not planet. But I mean, I think that things can be created on celestial bodies or on the vicinity of celestial bodies that are not planets, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is the case for the Neros. And this can also in some way explain why I mean they expect gravity and light to come from the same direction. Because if you were created in the vicinity of a celestial body that is not a planet or a moon, but another celestial body, and I mean the category of star is very, very broad actually. I mean it's not. I mean in the past people thought about like there are planets that are moving like stars, and there are stars that do not move. This was known since antiquity. And it stays like that in the Hebrew language, like Kochav Lechet and Kochav, like a moving star or just a star. But I mean, okay, later, I mean, they discovered that, I mean, that also, I mean, besides their own moon, there are other moons. So, yes, moons are, I mean, so moons are like kind of like planets, but still they are stars. But then people discovered that, I mean, there are different kinds of stars, so they give them very inadequate names like dwarfs and giants, even though it's, I mean, the dwarfs are actually, they are not, they are not small. I mean, compared to what? I mean, compared to the mean size, they're actually big, because I mean, they were actually being able. It was possible to detect them early on the like, history of telescopy, because so when you were all able to see large things. So actually, I mean, compared to the mean size, the dwarves, those called dwarves, are not small. So why they call dwarfs? But the giants, I mean, are also not giants, because I mean, giants compared to what? Compares to dwarfs, they are big. But when you say giant, you mean that something is like absolutely giant, but it's not true, because since then, I mean, many stars that are much bigger than the giants that, I mean, were known that they also were discovered, because I mean, using telescope that can see farther away into the, I mean, into galaxies, other galaxies, so all sort of like anomalies were detected. So I mean, the dwarfs are not small and the giants are not big. So it's kind of like complicated. But later they discovered that it's not even that the issue is not even just the size, because I mean there are all sort of like other kinds of like celestial bodies that are not planets, and I mean could not be categorized as like in the like I mean in the normal like scale of size of stars. So I mean they discovered like quasars and pulsars, and they discovered black holes, and then like there are neutron stars, and like all sort of like and people start to conjecture about like theoretical stars, and then I mean they actually found out that some of them actually exist. So like I mean it was like I mean like in particle physics that people like I mean at certain point people start to hypothesize I mean about the existence of all sorts of particles, and some actually were actually found like to be what people like theorized about before. I mean so it's the same with like stars. People start to think, okay, maybe I mean using our understanding of the cosmos, I mean, maybe such as celestial body can be actually, I mean, exist, and actually they even like found it like later, or at least found like something that I mean hints to the existence of such celestial bodies. So the distinction that exists since antiquity between like I mean the planets and stars, or moving bodies, and like, and of course it's like it's not true, because the stars also move. I mean the galaxies, everything moves. But let's leave it aside. This distinction is which is still very prevalent. Like I mean people think about like there are stars and planets. Is actually it's like it's losing like its currency with the more like science is advancing, because what's actually true is that there are just a huge amount of like celestial, I mean not only like celestial bodies, but types, like many types of celestial bodies that are very different from each other, and that it's not just like big balls of fire that I mean you can differentiate by their size. It's not like that. It's much more complicated than that. So I can certainly understand that that I mean entities or creatures could be created in the vicinity of celestial bodies that are not planets. Okay, this is very long video. Let me just ask you that. Like, I mean, we'll end with it. So, the first thing that, I mean, that was actually able to create, like, that was not in a microscopic scale, because they're creating in a microscopic scale, but in a microscopic scales are worms, living worms, if you remember. And I try to understand, I mean, why worms were created. Okay, so they look up, so they see the background, and I've used like yellow and brown I've used transparent background for the light to come in, but the liquid itself was like in a yellow or brown like color, so maybe they've seen the color of their own, like the medium, and maybe they just saw the maybe they just saw the you know, the nylon, which is transparent. So what was there to see? So, I mean, yeah, I've made like experiment with rings and things like that, but this was only done later and with much less success. But with the worms, it was so easy, and especially when we had like electrolysis, which greatly like helped. So, I mean, okay. And let's ask another question. Let's jump a little bit forward into to last days, when the Neros in the Nero juice, specifically those that created the black goo, or those that, I mean, I want them to create the black goo. When they look up, what do they see? They can see, like, I mean, either like transparent nylon, or they can see like the brown nylon or black colored, or maybe sometimes they light candles above them. Correct? So there is also issue. So it could be like they see that it depends if it's transparent or not. They can see like a glowing red bulb, which perhaps signifies the celestial body that is like near them. But is it the only thing that they see? No, that is not true, because actually it's not only paintings that they see, because they also see sculptures. Sculptures are also important for the Neros, and on many occasions, the message is made from both a painting, or like a two-dimensional surface, or a bunch of surfaces, one above the other. And as I've said, backgrounds are very important, but also a three-dimensional sculpture that is placed either above the backgrounds, if they are transparent, or somehow transparent. It can be it can be seen from below, or below it. Sometimes I place like the sculpture below the background, like in floating, or with duct tape or something like that. So what we can know for certain, there is something that we know for certain, that the Neros in the containers, that created the worms, have seen, and a sculpture, and also the Neros that created the black goo also have seen it, like sculpture. Actually, they've seen. So the truth is that both of those that created the worms and those that created the black goo, they've seen two sculptures. They've seen a pair of sculptures, but it wasn't the same pair. So what I think is like that, and it's not entirely new conjectures. I mean, this is like a kind of like a summary of many things that I actually thought about. Like part of it I thought about like a while ago already. So it's not all from today. But I'm giving you like the synthesis, like the current synthesis of my thoughts on the matter. So below the background, and there are all sorts of backgrounds. The Neros, we know for certain that they've seen a pair of sculptures. Okay, one sculpture that I've seen, a pair of it, is this one, the electrolysis rod. There are all sorts of rods, but there is it's always, it lies like up on the glass on the side, so it dips inside, and there is like, and from the other side it's like it's in curve where I place like where I connect electricity. So they see both of these sculptures. Or another option is that they see much more complicated sculpture, actually. A really interesting sculpture that they see. That one, which I also used. I used that one, actually 2 of these, when I prepared the black goo. This is a transformer edge. Like, I mean, I asked my mother to bring me transformers, AC/DC transformers, and I have quite a few, maybe 5 or 6 that I created, all sorts of like voltages, and she didn't give me any of them. Instead, she just gave me 2 like transformers that are in their like complete like undamaged state. Maybe she saw that the others are damaged, but the others are actually worked on. These are like, I mean, transformer with their connectors like in place, which are not beneficial for me because like I wanted it to be with like, I mean, with my adjustments, and also they are very weak. That's why I didn't put no adjustment on them. They were very big, just 1 volt, 1 ampere. But I'm fortunately I found like a much stronger transformer in the garbage like here, so I also use it, this one. But really, I really miss the other transformers. But so in order to use these ones, and I have another one which is identical. I actually like I just stuck 2 screws inside like the connector, and I dip it in the water. And I put like 2 of these while I was working on the black goo, because on the meantime I was actually working on the discotheque, and I wanted strong one to be connected to the discotheque, because I've done like things like a lot of experiments with magnetism. It was just a couple of days ago, and I wanted the black goo. I mean, so I used the weak one. So since it was a weak one, I've used 2 of them, which is they're still weak, but 2 are better than 1. So, I mean, it's quite obvious by now. They've seen a worm, 2 worms, when they created the worm, because the electrolysis rods are always shaped like worms. That's the way I shape them. Because for functional reason, they should be deep inside in the water, and there should be like a curvature where you place, you connected the electricity. And that's why they created the worms, because they've seen pair of worms, and they've seen pair of non-identical worms, because when you do electrolysis, you always make sure that, I mean, the rods are not identical. They look similar, but they are not identical, which is precisely according to the paradigm of the pairs of the Neros. But in that case, they didn't see worms. They have seen a creature which is much more complicated than a worm, and you can say for certain that it was biped. But what bipeds do we know of? Did it have hands? I don't know, because I mean the 2 of these, I mean, could be interpreted as hands, especially if they're like they are apart. Then it really looks like hands. Arguably, you don't see a head here. I mean, but if you accept the fact that this creature, like besides legs, also has hands, it means that it's not a rooster. Like the Diogenes. Diogenes, I mean, Diogenes, the philosopher Diogenes, like, it was Diogenes, the philosopher, yes, that, I mean, placed a plucked chicken on Plato's table in the academy, and they told him, that's a human for you. So it's not a rooster if it's got hands. Is that a human being? I don't know, but I think you really like the stuff because it is actually a human being. I think that the Neros actually tried to create a human being because they thought I wanted them to create a human being. And I mean, they didn't finish. It was just like, the black wood just an intermediary process. And for some reason, you really like this shit. You are disgusting. You are so disgusting. I mean, I can't believe that I need to spend my time on this disgusting planet. Anyway, it's another reason why today it become less like, of a passion for me to actually create more black goo. For a time I thought maybe I will just do a trick on you, and I'll add the tail to this creature, so it will be a monkey. Actually, you see the tail here? The tail is also, so maybe I can create black goo that will be an intermediate step towards a monkey, and it will be very interesting to say what will happen to any of you that will eat it, as you really like to do. But so it's kind of like it was an entertaining thought to add like a monkey tail to this idol of a human, satanic idol of a human. But actually, I found much more appealing, even than creating more black goo, or creating black goo that is like an intermediate step towards a monkey. What I really want to do is not to create any black goo at all, but just to create rings for my daughters, because I promised them that my robots will eventually create rings for them. And that's what I'm going to do now. So, rings are better than human or monkey mixtures. So that will be all for now.